Once upon a time, there was a boy named Tony Wright who was born in the little town of Sedalia, Missouri. Tony, growing up, was an outgoing and very athletic kid. But when Tony was born, he had a rare condition called a diaphragmatic hernia. A diaphragmatic hernia was where there was a hole in your diaphragm, and when Tony took his first breath, all of his intestines were sucked into the hole and were immediately in need of being pulled back out. By the time Tony was 2, he had already had almost 10 surgeries. These surgeries made Tony a little smaller than the other kids. You know, this could have been a good thing, but it was a bad thing also. Tony didn't like being small, but he dealt with it. Growing up, Tony loved to draw, and he could draw really good compared to the other kids. He also was one of the smartest kids in class. He was one of the only ones who made A's and B's in the elementary and in the middle school. Growing up, Tony had been to many different schools from the time he was 9 until he was about 13. Tony had also moved a lot from the time he was 9 till he was about 13. He moved to Iowa and lived there for about 2 years. And when he lived in Iowa, he picked up playing the violin. Tony picked up playing the violin because it was something his mother did when she was growing up. So he thought, what the heck, why not? The teacher was in amazement how well Tony could pick up and play a violin. By the time he was done with the class, he was stealing the solos from the other people that had been there for years. Everyone was proud of him. Then he got the news one day that the World Trade Centers had been hit. This kind of put a damper on things at home, and him and his mom decided that they needed to move back home to Sedalia, Missouri. When they got back to Sedalia, he moved to Smithton, Missouri. This was a little town 7 miles east of Sedalia. He started going to school in Smithton, and that was where he ended up graduating. When Tony lived in Smithton, he did a lot of sports, including baseball, soccer, basketball, golf. He loved sports. Even though he was the littlest, he was really good in sports. One day he decided to take one of the classes that was called AutoCAD. AutoCAD is a program that they use in architecture. And Tony, whenever he started the class, wasn't very happy with it, but it was a class that he had to take. When he started doing the class, he felt that it was something he could do because it was very artistic. You had to be an artistic person to be able to do it. After about a few weeks into the first semester of doing AutoCAD, the teacher decided that he wanted to ask him if he wanted to do a competition. The teacher, I guess, felt that Tony's work was something that could be something that he could make his life out of. So Tony, thought to himself, what the heck, why not? So he started doing a couple houses, and he designed a house that he took to competition in Warrensburg. Well, when he got up there, he put his house home, his design, which was a quarter-scale model of a home that he designed, and it was an original model, something he designed himself, nothing he used off of. He put that in the competition, and oddly enough, he won first place out of about 5 people. This transferred him to state competition, which was held in Osage, Missouri. When he got up there, him and his teacher sat and watched all the judges gather around his model and were jibber-jabbering. Well, we got nosy, so Tony and the teacher went down and was listening, kind of being nosy also. And they all were talking about how they loved his drawing. Well, he got second place, not because of the design, but because he didn't have good enough machines like the other guy did, and his house didn't look as presentable as the other guys. Well, when we got back to the school, the teacher asked the superintendent if Tony could finish the blueprints for the school, and the superintendent approved it. So Tony did the finished the blueprints for the school. So now if you go to Smithton Elementary, Tony's name will be on each and every one of the blueprints, escape exits, and everything. So Tony, after all this happened, he decided that this was something he wanted to keep progressing with. And now Tony goes to a school for architectural engineering and hopes to make something out of it. And if you haven't realized, this was a story about me. Hope you liked it.